the one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
I wore a wig to school once, and they said no headgear was allowed.
How did the
spider web
was it
tights.
Obvious that it was a wig?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was having
a terrible
fun.
wig.
See, this is exactly why we have them on the show, and this is what makes them fun.
You're listening to KXVS, the voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM. My name is Miriam, and I am the voice of Stockton.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hi, this is Joy Neas at KXVS, the voice of Stockton. This is Behind the Art Scene, and today my guests are Julie Scarbrough and Sandy Huber. Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for asking us. We're really happy to be here, Joy.
Okay. So today we're going to be talking about the University Park World Peace Rose Garden. And Sandy, I wanted to ask you, when you went up to the Capitol, did you know about the World Peace Rose Gardens when you went up there? Or?
Actually, no. I had never even heard of the International World Peace Rose Garden Organization. I was driving up to Sacramento for a meeting, and I stopped at a parking meter, and I was putting money in the meter, and I looked over, and something caught my eye, and it was this beautiful flower garden. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this flower garden was here. And I have a few minutes. I'm running early for my meeting, which is unusual for me. And so I went and I walked through the garden, and I was absolutely captivated by how lovely it is. It smells good. It looks beautiful. There's people walking through that with their lanyards. Somebody was sitting down having lunch. A young boy was sitting on a crux of a tree, and he was looking into the garden. And I just thought to myself, what a beautiful, peaceful place. And it wasn't till I had been there for probably 10 minutes that I actually looked down, and that's where I read my first message of peace, which are printed in the garden for guests to read. And they're all words of peace from local students in the Sacramento area, talking about what they want in their world, in their neighborhood, in their home, in their school, what they want for peace. And I thought, it's really that experience of reading those messages that can change your heart. And I'm working on a redevelopment project with my husband called University Park in Midtown Stockton. And I thought a park, a garden like this would really be beneficial to our community. So it was then that I contacted the international organization, and that was the beginning.
So what year did all that take place then?
That would have been 2014.
So then you guys started to bring that to University Park? And
Right. Well, first I had to convince my teammates that devoting a large section of prime real estate over to a rose garden for peace and families was really a good use of our resources. And the conviction that I have about how compelling these gardens are, and their ability to change neighborhoods, to change families, to change hearts, I think is really important, and the value that that brings to the University Park project for all of our tenants to be able to go into that garden, to walk there, to take a break there, to get restored there. If somebody's in the new Pace Stockton Center for the elderly and they've dropped them off, they can go walk through the garden. If somebody's loved one is at Quest Diagnostics, they can come through the garden. People have a variety of reasons for wanting to come be in that space, but it has turned into a lovely addition to our project.
so you said 103 acres for the whole project?
Correct.
How large is the garden?
The garden probably is about, I don't know, quarter of an acre.
So I think that's a really good use of the space. So was that a hard sell to your team? Or?
Actually, no, they came on board right away.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for asking that. They've always been very supportive, emotionally and financially. It was a very expensive project to build, but we think it also has brought value to University Park. In fact, the two newest tenants who have come to work with us have both decided to come as close to the garden as possible.
That's great.
I mean, I just love being there. I mean, it's one of the best places in Stockton, truly.
Thank you.
And just whenever I think about peace, I think about nature and outdoors, and that, a beautiful setting like a garden, and it's right next to the little lake and the fountain, and it's such a glorious setting with the trees and how you've made kind of a radiating path with all the roses and an archway and a lovely seating area. It's just a beautiful place to be. So.
Well, that's really a reflection of working with the brilliance of the international organization, and we have to give them so much credit for coming by our side and joining up with our team and being there with us every step of the way. The initial garden design we had, TJ David and Sylvia Villalobos are the co-creators of the international organization, and I should tell you that they build World Peace Rose Gardens all over the world.
How many are there?
There's 9, and they're from the United States to Jian, China, to Italy, Mexico. Of course, here in the United States.
And there's one going to be in India. Right?
India is probably the next location. They were going to make a trip out there earlier this year, and that plans get scooted ahead a little bit in the future. But I think the next garden is going to be in India. So we're very blessed to have this garden right here in Stockton, California.
So I think there's 3 World Peace Rose Gardens in California.
There's one down in Pacific Palisades, ours, the Sacramento Garden, and it has a little sister garden at Southport Elementary School. And we actually couldn't be an international World Peace Rose Garden because there was already 2 in the state of California. So we had to partner up with a separate rose garden to be a sister affiliated garden. So we elected to partner up with the Atlanta, Georgia Garden, which is the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream World Peace Rose Garden. And the reason we selected them is because every garden has a theme. For example, the garden in Stockton in Sacramento is Peace for Women and Children, which is a beautiful theme. But we felt that the theme of the Dr. Martin Luther King Garden, which is peace through nonviolence, is really reflective of our heart and what we want for our community. So my husband and I flew back to Atlanta 3 years ago and met with the National Park System, because it is part of the historic park system, and talked to them about who we are and what our goals were and why we felt like they would be a good sister partner for us, and they accepted. And so now we have a wonderful relationship with the Atlanta Garden that at some point this morning I'd like to talk to everybody about, because we've just had some exciting things happen there. But
so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Erin Elizabeth, and here we have the shirt with some of her artwork. How did she get involved in making all these paintings for the Rose Garden?
Well, Julie's showing you one of her beautiful paintings right now. This particular painting is named Collaboration. So I first met Erin Elizabeth. She's one of my daughter's closest friends. And she is, among other things, an amazing yoga instructor. And so I'd known Erin for quite some time, and it was always around the yoga scene. And she was over at our house, and I was in the Rose Garden. Oh, well, so we have to backtrack a little bit. we planted the roses originally in 10-gallon pots at our home in Lodi behind my folks' barn.
And how many were there?
250. Yeah. 250 roses on a drip line irrigation behind the barn. We planted it all with volunteers, and they were growing, and so they began blooming, and I would spend a lot of time out there deadheading. So I was out there with my little granddaughters, and we were just deadheading away, and the little girls were just digging in the pots and doing all the things that a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at that time would do, helping. And Erin said, "Can I help you?" And I honestly thought that she meant, "Can I help you snip some blooms?" And so I was going to give her some shears. And she said, "Well, actually, I'm an artist, and I'd like to paint your roses." And I said, "Oh my gosh, sure, I'd love to have you paint our roses." And about a week later, she sent me just snapshots that she had taken of these paintings, which are exquisite. You can see the detail of her work and how she focuses on the center of the rose. I'll have Julie show that again in a minute when the camera swings around to her. I'm not very good at timing the cameras yet. In any event, Erin's work is absolutely beautiful, and each of her paintings she names after one of the qualities of peace. So you're probably asking yourself, what is a quality of peace? Well, quality of peace are 50 words that have been established by the international organization to be those qualities that if we practice them, the world will be a more peaceful place, and we will be ourselves a more peaceful person. So after Erin Elizabeth makes the painting, then she names it after one of the qualities of peace. And she said every painting has named itself. So I happen to have, my husband and I have the original first painting that she ever did that we have used for all of our marketing pieces, which is, I think, one of the most important words of all of the qualities of peace, and that word is love. And so it's a beautiful, exquisite red rose, and it was the first piece that we'd ever purchased in her collection, and it's absolutely breathtaking.
Is that this?
No,
one?
this
Okay.
rose is named Collaboration.
Oh, okay.
This rose is named Collaboration.
I loved when you guys were first starting this, you had a showing of all of her paintings in one of the University Park buildings.
Yes.
It was just amazing to see them all in that one space.
How many were there, Sandy? Was it 29? Or?
Yes, I believe it was
Nice,
29 at that time.
Yeah.
And they range anything, from a huge canvas, 4 foot by 4 foot tall, to a small 12-inch. But they're all so detailed and so beautiful. And we had that. It was called the Red Carpet Rose Premiere. And what were your thoughts about it?
Oh, I thought it was beautiful. It was a beautiful evening. So many people came. It was really well attended. It was a fundraiser too, but it was also to introduce city officials to the idea of what you guys were going to do, because it wasn't done yet.
Right.
Yeah, the garden wasn't built yet.
Yes, and it was Erin's paintings allowed us to show the story before the physical garden existed. So she was really important storyteller to the World Peace Rose Garden.
And actually, you had some of the plans, the architectural renderings,
Right.
and Sylvia and TJ were there to talk to everyone about it.
Yes.
They are amazing people. I very inspirational. So from there, I think it was just a few months longer, and then you introduced the Rose Garden. It was just a few months after that?
Yes. The premiere was in February, and we did the unveiling in May.
Yeah.
And so that was also a lovely event. and we had been starting our first Messages of Peace contest by that time, and that's
some of those students, they got to come and see all the paintings and everything. So they'd already written Messages of Peace, so they were anticipating the garden opening.
So, Julie, can you talk a little bit about the poems, the contests with the students?
Yeah. So the first year we had 3 schools that participated, and it's the Health Careers Academy and Pittman, and those 2 are on the University Park campus, and the other school is the Stockton Children's Home. And so the teachers there then have, like at Pittman's, certain classrooms would participate. At Health Careers Academy, the whole school, 475 students, wrote a message of peace. And the Children's Home, it was several classrooms too. And so then the messages of peace have to have something to do, of course, with peace, or they could write about Martin Luther King or whatever their ideas are about peace, and they have to be 35 words or less. So then the different schools, teachers, administrators, they choose the 12 top winners, the semi-finalists. And then those 12 messages of peace come to us. And I think there's 7 of us, or 5 of us that are judges. And we get those, and we don't talk to each other about it, but then we all choose 3 from each school. And so then I take those choices and figure out who the winners are. Yeah. So
she has a very complicated ranking system. So there's a whole matrix of numbers that she has to corral together.
The first year there's lots of little sticky notes. and then Excel organized me.
Yeah.
So
thank goodness for Excel.
Yeah, thank goodness. And so it was really an amazing experience, because like at Health Careers, the Academy, we go there and they have a big school assembly, and so we have all the 12 semifinalists. They get up and read their poems in front of their classmates, and then we announce the winners, and it's an exciting.
So Health Careers Academy, that's right on the grounds of University Park, and Pittman.
It's also on the grounds.
It backs up to University Park.
Correct.
It's adjacent.
But it's part of the acreage, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. How did you guys end up choosing the Children's Home as one of them?
Well, one of the reasons that we wanted to choose the Children's Home is we wanted our messages of peace to be very inclusive of our whole community. And the students at Children's Home of Stockton are those kids who, for whatever reason, aren't able to live at their home at this time. And we think that those are voices that need to be heard, and they have something important to say.
And those are often my favorites. They are just heart-wrenching, some of those messages. Yeah.
And we have some to share with you a little bit later whenever you're ready. So the Children's Home has been really important for us, and some of the students who are winning students, we can only use their initials. We can't use their name because for
they're
security
protected,
reasons, we need to protect them. But for them to get acknowledged, to get to have this ribbon around their neck, this medal, to get this beautifully made T-shirt, to get to read their message in front of their peers, to have their teachers, their administrators clapping for them. It's a significant experience that we want to be able to provide to them, and we want the guests who visit the World Peace Rose Garden to read what they have to say, because it's really important about moving that peace needle forward.
I had always driven by the Children's Home, and I never had been able to go in. And they just had an event to meet
Joel,
the new director, and they ended. I forgot to bring it, but they made coasters with the winning poems from the children's home that they're giving out to all the people.
Get out of town. I missed that event, and they're using those students' words.
Yes.
See, that is the power. We don't know where their words are going to go, but they're going to go far.
So they handed them out to everyone that attended the Morning with Joelle. So
I have just tears in my eyes right now.
So I'll get you a few of those, but
please, I would really, really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that is really a special place. So
Yes, it is.
I'm glad that you included them. Can you go ahead and read some of the poems? Or?
Yeah. Do you think we should start with Emma?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So Emma, she got chosen. So she was from the Health Careers Academy, and her poem got chosen to be in the Martin Luther King Garden also. And it was really amazing because, I mean, those kids write some beautiful messages of peace from the Health Careers Academy, and she was a 9th grader this year, and she just had, I mean, it's like no way was her poem going to win and be in the Rose Garden. But not only did it win, it actually went to Atlanta too. And
so that she was the winner this year.
Yes. So last year was the first year that we sent a message from our Stockton campus to Atlanta, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia sent a winning message to our garden. So our winner, the Atlanta, Georgia, they're a holding house for the international contest winners. So this particular winner, the first year, was from India. So we had a garden that came all the way, a student's message came all the way from India. And I think
this year I read poems from Palestine and China from their gardens because I had to choose one for our garden. But it was amazing from all over the world.
Yeah.
So was this the first year that the winner from Stockton went to Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is just a lovely story, a lovely story about the Stockton San Joaquin community, and one of the reasons we just love living here and proud to be here is Sylvia Villalobos from the podium. When Emma's name was announced, she said, just kind of spontaneously, wouldn't it be lovely if we could raise enough money to send Emma to Atlanta to unveil her message? Which, by the way, was 10 days away. It wasn't like we had months to put this together. And I was kind of deer in the headlights, but I thought, well, I hope we can do this. And after the event, my girlfriend, Claudia Pruitt, who I just want to thank her so much, bless her heart, she said, we need to pick up this ball and we need to run with it. And by that evening, she and TJ David of the International Organization had come up with the rudimentary plans to create a budget and a path to get Emma to Atlanta. And we were able to raise money through GoFundMe and personal emails and Facebook and all the different ways we reached out to the community, and they responded. And we got her airplane ticket, we got a hotel room, we got her transportation, her food, and a $70 dress allowance.
Wow.
So we were able to send...
And her family went too.
And she went with her mother?
She went with her mother, and then Emma's family did personal fundraising to send her dad and her little brother along. So it ended up being a very surprising, wonderful family experience. And Emma, I asked Emma, I said, have you traveled much out of California? And she said no, that when she was 5, she went to North Carolina. She had a brother who was graduating from something. But she couldn't really remember it. I don't remember much from when I was 5, so it's no surprise that she couldn't remember being on an airplane. So to be able to travel with her family to Atlanta, Georgia, to participate in this experience. And then she had extended family who lived in the area, who she'd never met. aunts and uncles she didn't know, cousins she didn't know, who came in, and they all gathered together and they had dinner together and they attended this ceremony together, which is held at Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is the church where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born and baptized and preached and started the civil rights movement. And Emma was there, and this was a life-changing experience for her. So I think we'll start by having Julie read her message, and then we'll go from there.
United in the cause of peace. Together, in unity, that is how peace will be brought. When we view each other's weakness with understanding, when grace and mercy become our code of conduct, and hate is a passing shadow, then peace can be achieved.
I know when I was listening to all the winners, that's the one that really stood out to me. So.
Yeah.
So, Emma is fairly reserved. She's a very, very humble, kind person, which is really reflected in her message. But I'm going to show a picture here of Emma, and she's standing with the wife of Martin Luther King III and Jude Forte, who is the director of the Martin Luther King Historic Site, and Sylvia Villalobos. They're right there standing there in Ebenezer Baptist Church. She's holding her certificate. She's got the medal around her neck, and she's just been able to meet Andrea King, which was a pretty marvelous experience for her. We sent out a questionnaire to Emma because she is so quiet. We wanted to give her the opportunity to think about her thoughts, and she's such a lovely person. What would you like to start by? What would you like to read first?
Well, you asked her to describe her experience of reading at the church. What was that like? And she said, I love this part. She says, I felt proud to be part of a generation that is truly striving for a more peaceful, united, and inclusive world. I felt truly connected to my generation and to humanity because the reason that we are all together in that place was to celebrate and strive to achieve a concept that is defined as being freedom from cessation of war or violence. And the fact that we all had seen what happened when people weren't peaceful was so great. To be able to be in such a peaceful space, especially after all the turmoil and the school shootings this year, was extremely reassuring and calming. Being there with so many like-minded people gave me hope for our future as a generation, a nation, and a world. She's a special one.
And I could see, it brings tears to your eyes.
Right.
I guess it should. We should all be that caring.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Here's a cute one. When she heard she was selected, as I said, as Julie told you, she was very surprised, and she said, I thought it would be an interesting opportunity for me to truly connect to history in a way that I've never been able to. I also thought it would be a little scary, since public speaking and interacting with strangers scares me. But I was able to overcome that fear, and I was able to enjoy my trip. And I'm going to show you a second picture here of Emma in the garden. She's just unveiled her message. She's there with a couple of other students who have just unveiled their messages as well. And you can see that big smile on her face and how proud she was to overcome those things that had scared her. Yeah. And when we think about what this opportunity was for her in so many ways, you know, that was really special. What else would you like to share?
So this picture, that was from Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was from Atlanta.
There's so many. Oh, some of the special memories. She, I said another special memory that stood out for me while I was there was being able to see the Interfaith Chapel, because I love the idea of people of different faiths peacefully getting together to acknowledge a caring higher power. 9th grade.
Yeah. another memory. I always thought of Martin Luther King Jr. as a two-dimensional figure, and I saw history almost as some kind of twisted fairy tale because of the amount of prejudice that was tainted with. I never really thought about any of it as real, but then, being there, I could see the inner workings of their lives, and it showed me how real the past truly is. Another special memory that stood out for me was hearing our tour guide talk about her family back in St. Thomas. She talked about how when she goes back, she can visit with her family and she can help them out. She talked about the slow recovery from Hurricane Irma and how she feels that the U.S. often forgets its territories. This impacted me and made me more conscious of the struggles of all Americans, not just the ones that live on the same continent as me.
Yeah, that was life-changing for her.
Yes.
Made her world a lot bigger. Yeah.
And smaller.
Yes.
In both ways.
Mm-hmm.
The world becomes more real,
Mm-hmm.
but the people became more real.
Yeah, right.
So, has she returned to Stockton now, or
Yeah.
how long was she there?
She flew in on a Wednesday night, and they did the unveiling on Thursday morning, and then the international organization had fixed her up with special tours of Dr. Martin Luther King's birth home and the brand new unveiling. They've just completed the renovation of the museum for the civil rights. There's the Eternal Flame for he and Coretta Scott King. There's a beautiful museum there. So just a series of activities, and then I think
I think her family took them to the aquarium.
that's what it was.
She got to see sharks because she loves sharks.
Yeah, all kinds of sharks.
Yeah.
She's not scared of sharks, but she's
Yeah.
scared to speak in public. Emma's going to figure it out. She's braver than she knows, huh?
Do you know? Did she say like what her plans are, future plans for college, or after she graduates, or?
That's a really good question.
Well, she's at Health Careers Academy, so it's something in the health field.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
But helping service
Yeah.
others.
Mhm.
I think it may be, I call this kind of experience that our community provided for this young woman, I call those transformative life experiences.
Yes.
And we don't know yet how this is going to impact her and her future, but I think Julie's point of making the world a bigger place and a smaller place at the same time, I think her thoughts are going to be beyond perhaps what they were a month ago.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be fun to have you share, Joy. There's a message here from Atlanta, Georgia that's just been unveiled in our Stockton garden.
Okay.
And it's by a little student from Jonesboro, Georgia. And can you believe, what grade is she?
Kindergarten.
Oh,
Yeah, there were so many good messages that came from Atlanta that we had to choose one. But when I saw this one was kindergarten, I'm like,
No.
oh my goodness, this is an easy
my.
choice.
So we're going to ask you to present this one.
Okay. All right. The roses are different colors, shapes, sizes, and smells, just like people. The roses need someone to care for them by feeding and watering, just like people. You can talk to the roses and watch them grow, just like people. So why can't we be in peace, just like the roses? Very good.
Yeah.
And you guys, the Rose Garden has extended beyond just University Park. You set up another Rose Garden by the police station.
Yeah, the Ambassador Rose Garden.
Yes, we did. one of the things that we thought about when we were thinking about peace is the Stockton leadership class we learned was going to be helping do an exterior facelift of the police department. The Stockton leadership takes on a project every year, and they decided to show support for our police department, and they painted the entire exterior of the building, redid all the landscaping. And I was talking to some people in the leadership class about the project and about the police department and the fact that they are peace officers. That is their title, is to be peace officers. And they work so hard to serve our community as best they can. And we really appreciate Chief Jones and the entirety of the department. And I thought about the police department and the space, and I recalled that in front of it there was a planter that's in full sun, which is what you need to grow a beautiful rose plant, is you need something in full sun. So I kind of walked around the police department, and I thought, gosh, it looks to me like if we're going to do something, rather than just donating a plant, a rose plant, let's put in a little garden. And I talked with the international organization, and they were very, very supportive and encouraging of us to pursue doing a second affiliated garden. Even before our first garden was built, we were planning a second garden, and they were fully on board, which was just great for us. And we picked just some beautiful roses that are very reflective of our community. We did the Coretta Scott King rose there. We did Cinco de Mayo there. We did Oktoberfest there because Stockton loves its festivals, and it's just it's a very happy place. And when you walk into the police department now, you get to not only walk by this beautiful small rose garden, but you also get to see messages of peace that have been put into that Stockton Ambassador's Garden.
How many messages of peace?
We have 4 messages in there. We have one from 2016, one from 2017, and this year in 2018 we did 2 messages because there were just 2 really outstanding special messages that we thought needed to be included. And
the interesting thing is the message of peace that has been chosen every year, they're always from the children's home.
Really?
Just by chance.
Wow.
They're always from the children's home.
And they are selected by the police department.
Oh.
So they are choosing the ones that speak to them. And I thought it would be fun. There's 4 messages. I thought it might be kind of fun to go ahead and read those 4.
Sure.
Okay. Would you like to read one of the messages?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll just go in order. We'll start with the 2016. That's 2018?
Yeah.
So want to start with 2016? You want to go, Julie?
Okay. What is peace? Peace is love. Peace is free. Peace is not fighting. Peace is very rare, when it should be everywhere. Peace is key. Everyone deserves to see. It's not a hard thing. We all need peace. And that was by T.G. from Children's Home of Stockton.
So this message of peace was written by a student who we can't use his full name to protect him. And yet he's writing these incredible, impactful words about what he wants for his future.
And he was the one, when he found out that his poem was going to be at the police station, at first he had this like really confused look on his face, like, why would I want to have anything to do with the police station? But by the time we had the little ceremony there, this kid was so proud.
Yes.
It was really a special little ceremony.
Yes. And for them, this might be their first interaction with the police department that is 100% positive,
Yeah.
where they are being rewarded, where they are extended the hand of friendship. And it's about building relationships. That's what the World Peace Rose Gardens are about, is building peaceful relationships. The 2017 winner says, peace, it's just titled Peace. Peace is something people desire, but they don't hesitate to shoot guns and start fires. We were made to love and not hate. So let's work as one and cooperate. And then, Joy, why don't you read that 2018?
So we got no effort, no peace. Peace is what everybody wants, yet nobody wants to work for it. Peace is a strong word, but no one appreciates it. We are not meant to fight, so let's open our eyes and see the light.
This is the other 2018 winner. Peace is an oath. Peace is not just the absence of violence. Peace is lifting spirits with actions of kindness. Peace is forgiving your enemies and forming an alliance. Peace is being the guidance in moments of crisis. Always. Peace is to safeguard the helpless and to do no wrong. This is your oath.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm. This is your oath. Mm-hmm. That's a young person making a promise. And one of the things that we talk about when we are discussing the process of writing these messages of peace is that when you are given the assignment to write a message of peace, it has to come from a space of self-reflection. And you have to be making a determination for yourself of what is peace and what does it mean. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? Where is it? Where is it not? And as you create your message, you're developing your own personal platform of who am I? What do I believe? What is peace to me? And by developing that, you're going into your brain. You're working within your synapses of the brain to make these connections of this is who I am. And I am a peaceful person, and I can be a peaceful person, and I can be a part of an oath of being committed to peace. And so if we have a student such as this kindergartner who wrote this winning message of peace, oops, just flashed off. Anyway, she wrote this winning message of peace, and she's 5 years old, and it's very, very simple. It's 5 words long. And it says, peace is love and kindness.
Calmness.
Calmness. That's it. Very simple message. But when you start writing that message when you're in kindergarten, and then you're asked to write a second message when you're in 1st grade, and 2nd grade, and 3rd grade, by the time you graduate in 8th grade, you have a pretty good expression of what you think peace is.
So it builds on,
yes,
on the next.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the ceremonies. So the first year, did you have Jose Hernandez was the speaker, and he gave a wonderful inspirational talk, and Tama Brisbane was the poet laureate. She read a poem, and you've always had the Chavez Band.
Yes, this is the Chavez Jazz Band.
Jazz band.
Because I'm happy.
So, what were some of the second year? Some of the highlights.
Second year. What did we
Second
do?
year.
I'm drawing a blank. It's only the 3rd year.
Oh my goodness!
How horrible. Oh, Susan Eggman came.
Okay.
And
she spoke.
Oh, she spoke,
Eggman.
and she's one of the most expressive extemporaneous speakers I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And she related her experience back with her mother and her grandmother and roses and rose gardens. And our first speaker, Jose Hernandez, one of the things I will always remember about his presentation was being an astronaut and circling what he called our fragile blue planet. And he talked about from outer space, you can't see the delineation between where the United States ends and Mexico begins. And you can't see where Vietnam ends and Cambodia begins. And he said he wishes he could get all the world leaders up in a spaceship so that they could see that all of these boundaries are really man-made.
Right.
And that we are all one on this planet Earth. And he was a very inspirational speaker.
So
Tony's, what's her name?
Tori Verber
Tori.
Salazar.
Didn't she speak?
She spoke as well. Yes, she did.
She
Our
was good.
first female DA. She was amazing.
And this year,
Oh my gosh, we'll get to this year.
So this year, you had the mounted police with the horses coming in, and then some police. The head of the mounted police, he spoke.
Yes, yeah. So that was a fun project. We thought about who do we want to be our guest speaker this year, and we wanted it to be somebody that the students would be inspired by. And I was in a meeting, and my sister happened to walk through, and I said, "We're trying to think of something interesting for these kids," and she said, "Well, everybody likes animals." I was like, how do you have an animal be a speaker? But she caught my attention because children do love animals. So I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'll contact Chief Jones and see if maybe we can bring somebody from their canine division, and maybe they could pet a dog or something. So we got an email off to Chief Jones, and I said, or if you have any other ideas. And he wrote me back and he said, well, yeah, I kind of have another idea. We've just brought back our mounted police unit. How about if we bring the horses? And Sergeant Chuck Harris is running the mounted division. He brought out 4 beautiful horses, 4 officers, Detective Paul Donna, Officer Melissa White, and Officer Jessica Moya all came out. And they had a meet and greet with the horses after the event ended. And what was so special is a lot of these kids have never been to a farm, and they've never gotten to pet a horse before, or look at their tack, or feel how soft their muzzle is, and they were just enamored. And again, another really wonderful opportunity for our police department to interact in a positive way from these kids who come from schools that are in neighborhoods that don't necessarily have an excellent
and their
relationship.
families.
And their families. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Before we close, I wanted to also talk about the International Day of Peace, and you guys have had some events at the World Peace Rose Garden. I really enjoyed the drum circle that you had. What are your plans for this year? That's September 21st. Do you have any plans?
Yeah, it's September 21st every year, and this year it happens to be a Friday. And I think we're going to do an afternoon event, but I can't disclose at this time because I'm meeting with them tomorrow to kind of finalize some details. But I will give you a few sneak ideas. It involves food, which is, I think, always a good thing. It invites a little bit sweet, a little bit homemade, and it will all be shared with a lot of fun and a lot of love. So imagine big bubbles and art and good food and a wonderful daytime celebration in the garden.
Oh, good. Well, if I can help you with that, I was making a cloth labyrinth for people to walk. If you'd like to use that, maybe we could set that up. Or
that's a wonderful idea because we have the great lawn directly adjacent to the garden, so that's a shady place. September, how we are here in the valley, it can be warm, and that would be a really fun idea. And if we have anybody who makes snow cones or something cool like that, that'd be kind of a fun addition too.
Oh, very good. And we were also talking about we need Christy Hallvik to come out, I think,
and do mosaics.
And do the mosaics. I was able to take her class. It was my first time to Alcatraz, and we went over on the boat to Alcatraz, and we got a tour of the gardens of Alcatraz. You would not think there were gardens on Alcatraz. It was absolutely amazing. All the different garden areas, the planting. They're trying to bring it back to natural plantings. And I think there was like 4 different spaces all over the Alcatraz is really very steep and mountainous, and all the different twists and turns and meanders. It was just amazing. And then we went into what had been their hospital at Alcatraz, and she had the whole mosaic class in the hospital rooms, and we got to make a mosaic during the day. But I think that would be an excellent way to maybe make some stepping stones for the garden, add some more art, and get some art going. We need some art.
Yes, we're all behind the scenes with joinies, right?
Yes. So my other idea was I love the idea about having poems, but to also have other visual expressions. Maybe have students. You could have an art contest every year. How the garden makes them feel, or how peaceful it is, and maybe that could be the winning shirt, or go on the have a shirt. I know, like the Hospice of San Joaquin for Christmas time, they have a contest in the schools, and students draw the lit tree, and then they use the winning design for their program for the Hospice of San. Just to be able to use some art maybe, and from students or the community to add to Erin Elizabeth's beautiful work. But
Well, Joy, I think you have a lot of good ideas, and I think there's a lot of good ideas coming from the community in general. And I think if we all continue to get behind this big piece boulder and continue to move it, each of us have been gifted in a different way. Mine isn't particularly in art, but yours is. And so I think I think collaboration was the word of 2018, and I think that we just need to continue to do more of that.
So one reason I really got this has all struck a chord for me is with Cleveland School Remembers. And I was glad that the World Peace Rose Garden, you were able to come and participate in our Art Against Violence exhibits. And now the group has kind of moved on to they're trying to make legislation to prevent the gun violence, and it seems to be escalating, and so many of the school shootings in Las Vegas and Miami and all these big horrific shootings.
Yes.
And so I mean, we need peace more now than ever. So that's why I wanted to get really involved with this. I wanted to read my poem.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. So one of the things we did on our University Park World Peace Rose Garden Facebook is it was National Poetry Week, and Jody Lovegren, who helps with our marketing tools, said, how about if we run a poetry contest on our Facebook page? And every day she had different guidelines for what you needed to do. And so Joy entered, and she's going to read to you one of her winning poems. And so explain to us what were your guidelines of what to write about for this particular poem?
So actually I went to Facebook, and I saw there were like 3 days that you had a poetry contest, and I said, oh, I can do that. I'm a poet, I'll do that. So this particular day, it was take a walk until you find a tree you identify with, then write a poem using the tree as a metaphor for yourself or your life. And my favorite tree is a tree right in my front yard. So I wrote this poem. I see glimpses of you through my window, your green refreshing my soul every day. To bathe in your fullness, I walk a few steps away, where I take in how much you've grown, lovingly filling the space we chose. With varied hues as light plays in and around you, your limbs climbing toward the sun, patterns cast, some bright, some shadow, all in one. I love you, Japanese maple, my dear friend. You have flourished where you were planted and come into your own, much as I can say for myself in good old Stockton. And
that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it really was,
It creates a beautiful word picture.
So that's kind of how I feel about Stockton. I've lived in Stockton longer than I've lived anywhere else, so 25 years, and it's pretty much where I've grown up and come into the work that I want to do. So, so I'm so happy to have you guys here, and that I can help you and hear what you're doing, and that you brought the World Peace Rose Garden to Stockton, that we have a lovely place to go and think about peace and share our vision for it and work with each other.
Thank you for inviting Julie and I to be here today.
Thank you, Joy.
It's really an honor, and we're just happy to continue to share this message. And I hope every city would desire to have a World Peace Rose Garden. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That would be. That would be.
Yeah. And we want your listeners to know that they need to go and see it. And they can take a picnic, and there's beautiful grounds there to enjoy. And it's open to the public.
Okay, so it's for people, how do you get to the World Peace Rose Garden?
It's on the corner of California and Magnolia Streets. So you just turn in off of California Street on Magnolia. It's right there on your left-hand side. It's open from sunrise to sunset. It's got the beautiful benches. It's got shady trees. It's got a 1-mile discovery trail loop around the project, so you can check out historic buildings, beautiful oak trees, cork oaks, the pond, the fountains, the ducks, the turtles. We had 2 little baby geese out there last week when I were there, just absolutely adorable. They look like little bumblebees running around.
So the Discovery Trail, I haven't gone on that, but you get to that from the Rose Garden?
Yes, the Rose Garden is one of the 14 stops on the Discovery Loop. So it's a 1-mile walking trail throughout the property.
Okay, very good. So and now the roses are in full bloom.
Oh my goodness!
Everything's going. How many different varieties?
I think there's 30 different varieties, maybe 35 different varieties, and those were all selected in partnership with the international organization, so that we had things that were disease resistant, rot resistant, very, very fragrant, very colorful, and then had names that were very inclusive of our community. So
yeah, there's so many different colors and varieties. It's truly amazing. So you guys have to go check it out. And so the next event is September 21st.
Yes.
Okay. So, and come to the International Day of Peace at the University Park World Peace Rose Garden on September 21st to check that out. So I'd like to thank Julie and Sandy for being my guests today. And that's it for Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. See you next week.